Hello, friends, and welcome to the second interview edition podcast episode for Free Your Story for Your Life. And of course, like I said in the last episode, the purpose of these interviews is for us to go back to our scary places, quote unquote, to go back to the darkness, because I believe that the darkness is where we find our light. And we want to change the narrative of trauma. So I am having amazing conversations with friends, with people who have been referred to me. It's been a great journey thus far. So today, my heart is fluttering and I have all the feelings inside of me because my guest today is very, very incredibly special to me, because this is my partner, my boyfriend, my love, my best friend, my confidant, all the things. And before I start gushing about how amazing this man is, how he has turned my life upside down in the most beautiful way, I'm going to give him a chance today to share a really incredible story. And one of the things that we have talked about is that in relationships, a lot of time you bring your darkness with you, whether you want to or not. It doesn't really matter how much like help pre-healing that you've done. And if there's one thing that I learned about relationships, is that I don't know anything about relationships, because each relationship is a new person, a new face, a new, and they bring everything with them. They bring the beauty with them, and they also bring their version of whatever the ugly looks like in our lives, which sometimes isn't ugly at all. It's great opportunity for growth. So, my baby Casey Martin is here today to share an incredible story that has just added so many components to his life and makes him the incredible human being he is today. So, my love, my baby, I'm going to call you Casey, even though that's only what we say to each other when we're angry. So,
Facts.
so Casey, what I want you to do first is introduce yourself to us. Give us a little information about who you are, and any other relevant things you want to share about yourself.
Okay. Hi, world. Hi, baby. Um,
Hi,
I'll do that just
baby.
the one time. My name is Casey Martin. I'm from St. Petersburg, Florida. Born and raised here. Um, I love this city. I came back home from 9 years of the Army back in 2002. Decided to make St. Pete my home. Felt like, you always hear the saying, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. Where I believe in, if you can make it at home, your birthright, then you can make it anywhere. So I decided to come back home, deeply rooted here. Um, a lot of my family, if not, I would say all of my family, is from here. A lot of immediates. I have some extended family in places like Georgia, but Florida, St. Petersburg, Florida, is home. Was born in 1975, July 3rd, 1975. So, in that time, coming up as a young kid, a young boy, to South St. Pete, I when a lot of dads. I mean, around the area, it was just a different time. It was a wild time. A lot of people was out there, just having fun, and you know, babies were popping up, and it's like a lot of confusion. Where are these dads? You know, a lot of those guys wanted to be dads, just didn't know that they had gotten the call.
Yeah.
Uh, a lot of those guys grew up hard. Men my age back then, they didn't say things like "I love you" or embraced, their sons with a kiss on the forehead or, on the cheek. Or none of that affection, no intimacy of that kind. Um, which brings me to about 1987. I was 12, I believe. I was 12 years old. I was having a time of my life. We had just moved out to Coquina Key. It was the first, what I considered biggest house that we'd ever lived in. moved into, and I met a lot of cool guys out there. I met my boys, Dino, Kenyatta out there. It's like I'm about like the third grade. Uh, Ron Jans. I can go on and on. The list goes on. Coquina Key boys. Didn't meet Cornell until middle school, but that's another story. But 1987, it was like shows like the Cosby Show. I think around that time were like big. So, my boy Dino. It's funny, interesting story, real quick. So, like my boy Dino, his family always reminded me of the Cosby Show. Like they had that dynamic, man. The mom and dad, the sister and the brother, and the parents got it going on. Got good, have good careers, and just raised in this cool family. And I'm looking at that, and I'm like, wow, because I had never experienced that. As I was saying earlier, how it was where I came from as far as dads went. So seeing that with my boy Dino and his family, I admired that. And it kind of took on. I kind of adapted that role, as a young kid in my head. Like that's the type of family that I want to have. That's how I want to be. That's the type of dad that I want to be. Providing, protecting, and securing the foundation. For my family. Um, but it wasn't like that for me. In my time, which brings us to 1987. My mom was pregnant with my brothers, and it was just a weird night, and like just a lot of arguing, as usual. That was like a thing in my household. Crack was huge in that time, in the latter 80s. Crack was hit hard, and it hit my family, hit my home. My mom's husband, Brian, he fell victim to crack, and it was a lot of arguing. He had a great job. He was a bus driver for a Greyhound. No, not Greyhound. I think it was like Gray Line, like kind of like a secondary Greyhound, if you will. Great job. Benefits, everything. Like felt like the Jeffersons. Like we're moving on up. Seriously, it felt good, and but there was a lot of arguing, a lot, and this particular night, it was bad. Yeah, it was bad. So they were arguing, and all of a sudden it got to like you can hear things like breaking and just like a lot of fumbling. I told you, my mom's pregnant. So what's all that about? And so I'm at the time where you, I'm at the age as a young man where you're seeing these things like in your head you just want to just destroy this person, like physically you're not really there yet. And so I had that going, but it's just like enough was enough for me. And like the fight, it came out, and they were, I mean, it was like a tornado, and they were going at each other. My pregnant mom, going blow to blow with her husband, and I mean they're just laying into each other, and I'm like just losing it. And I try to jump in there, boom, I get knocked down, what have you. So they take it outside, and my sister Brandy. How old is Brandy? Brandy's 6 years younger than me. So Brandy was what, 6'5", 6 at the time, maybe 7. I'm not sure, but so she's out there. She's crying hysterically, and it's just the whole thing. And they take it out there. So now he's got my mom on the ground. She put up a good fight. She did what she could, pregnant, and so he's on top of her. Now, before I go into the rest of that, I remember, a few weeks ago, I remember seeing a 22 caliber pistol in our house. I had never seen, a weapon, um, that
Just
magnitude.
for just for clarification,
Yes,
a few weeks prior
a
to
few
the
weeks prior to this altercation, to this
okay.
to this fight, you should say, yeah.
Hmm.
So I never seen a weapon like that. You see knives, but like kitchen knives, so I'm not seeing weapons. I saw a machete once, but never really thought of it as a weapon. I just thought it was cool. It was a machete in the house, but like this gun, this weapon, uh, was in our home, and so I hadn't seen it. I saw it 3 weeks. 3 weeks later, here I am. Here's this fight, and he's choking my mom. Brian's choking my mom on the ground, like he's choking her lights out. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. And I look down, and there's the 22 right in front of me. So I hear him. He's using, he's vulgar. I mean, they're cussing each other out. I don't know, what the language is like on here, baby. But if you want me to express,
I do.
how it went down. Yeah.
Say
So
it how it went.
it was a lot of, I'm gonna kill you, motherfucker. I'm gonna kill you, you bitch. Fuck this, and your life is done. Just a lot of shit like that. And my mom's gagging. So I see the weapon on the ground, and he's like, I'm gonna kill you, you bitch. And I picked up the weapon and I pointed it at the back of his head, and I said, and if you kill her, then I'm gonna kill you. And like this is the part of the story where it gets hazy for me, but my mom always tells me, like, she says that I blacked out apparently, because I fired the weapon, and there were the rounds. Well, the gun didn't go off, so I don't know if there were any rounds in there or what have you. Um, but I fired that weapon to his head, in the hopes to ending his life. I wanted him dead, and he, it was just click, 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 I guess. And I remember him grabbing the gun, and just kind of like, just like time stood still. So go back in the house. We like get rushed back in the house or whatever. And so I'm crying hysterically. The cops come, and I'm in the house. So it's me, my sister, in the house with Brian, and my mom's outside. She ran away, and I'm freaking out because I'm like, where's my mom? You know, and he's trying to calm me down, and I want no parts of this man. Even to this day, like, I don't want to threaten anybody on a show like this, but let's just say that it is, some things are just, some things you go through. I understand healing, but some things are just, they are what they are. You know, yeah. So that being said, I hope I never see him again. But yeah, but for that to happen in my life at that time, it's very what we, you hear the word a lot now, traumatic. So we all understand what trauma is. A lot of us are coming out now, men and women, coming out, facing our trauma, our past, things that ignite things to this day. We don't know why. Um, that moment in my life played a big part in it, because what I learned from that was that, number one, outside of my life, it's family first. If you're in my circle, if you're in my family, you're in my world, there's nothing I won't do for you. I'll protect you. I'll save you to the end. You know this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it also taught me, like, value in communication and relationships, value in, you know, children. Um, I mean, I was in a 11-year marriage and recently divorced, and it's like, but what I learned from that was the value of the children, how valuable parents are in children's lives, no matter what you go through, in your own personal life. And when you involve other little lives, you have to attend to that. So that taught me to really pay attention to my children more. I have 6 children, so it taught me to pay attention to my babies. But it taught me as a man. I grew up fast. I had to grow up fast.
Yeah, I wanted to go down that path really quickly, because to get to a point where you were ready to take a gun and to kill someone, you had to have seen a lot to get to that point. Like, this obviously wasn't like the first time you saw something like that. So take us to the 12-year-old mind of Casey that gets to the point of saying enough is enough. Like, what had you seen at that point? What did family mean to you? And what kind of pain essentially were you trying to stop?
I mean, you mean like the time where when me, my mom, and my sister were all coming home, and we walk in the house, and there he is with another woman in our home. You know, now don't get me wrong. I've done my share of dirt and and cheating and whatever in my life. My life is my life, but like to walk in and to see that in your home, I was like, I didn't know what I was looking at the time. I remember my sister Brandy. She's super young, but like she said what I should have said at my age. She was like, she looked up at our mom and she was like, "Mama, I will never forgive. I would never forget this day." And I'm like, that's something I should have said. But instead, I'm just sitting there, eyes wide open, like, "Oh my god, like, what is this?"
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, yeah. Just a lot of things like my mom getting into it with a lot of the guys that she was with. Like you know, it wasn't very steady, relationships in the household like that. My sister's dad, I admire him to this day. I admire this man with everything, and I wish he had taken the job. But in a way he did in my own world. I made him, you know, one of my overseers, if you will, one of my mentors, my dad, if you will, coming up. Um, so a lot of that, like growing up, taught me the value of like being a dad. You know what I'm saying? Like being being the man of the house. Being the man. We you think once you're you think once your balls drop or whatever that you're a man now. But anyway, you think you're being a man is you get to talk a certain kind of way or a certain age that you are. No, being a man, there's certain responsibilities that you gain. You prove yourself becoming a man. I think seeing a lot of that stuff led me to what not to do, and along the way I did. I wouldn't say that to that extent, but I've done a lot of the things that I've seen. I'm a product of my environment, unfortunately, and but yet still knowing who I am, knowing my value, and knowing what's right and wrong in that manner. You learn how to grow. You learn how to overcome uh, traumatic childhood, traumatic experiences. And that stuff makes you better. Makes you stronger.
Yeah, in reference to not necessarily having a strong father figure in your life, and the ones who did fulfill that father figure were obviously representing behaviors that weren't great, and definitely from a kid's eyes. So because this wasn't something that played out in your life and it actually played out in a darker way,
Mm.
how did that take you down a darker path? But then how did you turn that to bring you to something? Because I'm with you. And, you're not out there strangling me on the front lawn. Otherwise, we'd both be dead. Do you know what I mean?
Thanks. Yeah.
But, like, obviously, and you've already mentioned some of this, but I would like you to go into more depth because I think that you speak to a wound that so many people have. And it's a wound that a lot of men don't get over, or maybe they carry it with them. And it's just a wound that stays open. How did you find some sort of closure to that?
Uh, life, just just growing up, you experience different situations, different moments. Uh, we all practice to be this person's good person, this person that wants to do good. You don't want to do bad. You don't want to curse anybody out. You don't want to strangle anybody. As you put it, just want to do right by people. But it was that's not reality. The reality is that life happens for all of us. Life happened for me. You know, I experienced things a lot differently than I projected. You know, a lot of those fights. Yeah, drugs was never a problem in my life, nothing like that. But like a lot of those fights, as I stated, I have 6 children. That's not from one female. That's 4. Married twice. You know, and sometimes like a lot of people they say, oh, 6 kids. You know, 4 baby mamas, and like ha ha. Maury Povich, like that's funny. Jerry Springer, that's funny. He's like, you laugh a little, but no, that's life. You know what I'm saying? These things happen. You know what I'm saying? That's just as well as, you know, a couple with 6 kids that, they had 6 kids between themselves. You know, what are they going through? What have they gone through? I'm sure it wasn't peaches and cream for them. You know, no one lives the fantasy that we're all projecting. It's not a thing. We need to get out of the movies. We need to get out of the, the we need to get out of the fake, talk shows, the fake, reality of life, and really start embracing, this hurt that's in us, these dark paths that we experienced, from traumatic experiences as young adults. Um,
So how did you find light, and how did you find clarity and direction in an environment where that wasn't available to you?
I'll stay consistent with being me. Um, I just a lot of the things that I experienced that I saw, I did learn not to do as well. Um, and just understanding that, hey man, shit happens. You know, we we get into altercations. We get into fights. Uncomfortable conversations, disagreements. That's all a part of it. That's all a part of life. You know, it's this wise woman that always says that to me. It's all a part of it.
Yeah.
Part of the uncomfortable conversations, and it's a part of the, the talks that, or not the talks, but it's part of the uncomfortable silences that you have. It's all a part of it. It's all the journey. We always want to embrace the good, but never embrace the bad. And this is why a lot of us are in the states that we're in, because we don't want to embrace that BS, that bullshit that happened to us, in our past. And that's why a lot of us are still, hurt and still going through and still are falling victim to the same shit that we, you know, experienced as kids. Because we go back to that little cubby, or we go back to that little childhood, we go back to that little kid, you know, back in that little box, instead of doing something about it. And whatever that looks like and whatever that means for, many of us out here who are looking to, I won't say be better, but just to, I don't know, just get clarity.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with us. You know,
Yeah.
just go through stuff.
What do you think that moment, that 12-year-old version of yourself, what's like the biggest lesson that you took away from that moment?
Leadership, um, taking ownership of my life, um, learning the value of family, like just caring, protecting. I'm big on protection. I'm big on safety. You know,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, mentally, physically, financially.
Yeah. When you think about your past experiences and what you could have taken from them, right? Because sometimes when there's voids in our lives, or we've grown up and we realize that we're not the Cosby Show or Full House or whatever during those time periods that projected this perfect family. Um, how did you release any anger, bitterness, victim mindset for how you were raised and the conditions you were raised under? How did you release that?
Oh man. Fortunately, a lot of that was being released through fights and arguments. My relationships, uh, just just having to deal with me. You know,
Explain that. That's interesting.
yeah,
Go a
just
little
having
deeper with
just having to deal with me, just having to deal with um, where I stand on certain things with certain things. Some things I don't tolerate. I give you my all right off the bat. Anybody, if I say you're my friend, I say you're my lover, then I give you my all right off the bat. So like when you screw that over, then it's easy for me to just cut that off, just to cut ties with that. I to sit there and try to mend that no longer serves me. I can hold that space for somebody else, and it's like, and just keeping it moving. Time is short, and time is winding up. We don't have time. You know, a lot of things that we've gone through in our past with people. A lot of that we don't have time to mend that stuff. We gotta keep going. We gotta go. We gotta go. It may not serve you, and it's just a waste of your time. I guess the light to that is you know seeing the faces of Kira and Casey Jr. and Kyla and Devlin, Brianna and Taywin, seeing their faces, seeing the smiles on their faces that I bring to them, the genuine smile, the genuineness, the way they look at me. They see a leader. They see a protector. They know that this guy right here is team them, and whatever that looks like, as far as like for them, they know that they got me, and there's nothing that I wouldn't do for them. Those faces versus Casey and Brandy's faces of 1987.
When you think about men that came from your generation who didn't have what seems to be coming a little bit more on the scene with more acceptance of like men being vulnerable with other men, when you look back to maybe men like yourself who didn't have that, how are you all choosing to heal that trauma when you don't have the language of therapy and vulnerability and intimacy? Like, what does that look like for your generation?
We just say screw it, man, and just break the curse. That's what we've done. Guys my age, like, we said enough is enough. We kiss our kids, we kiss our sons, we take our sons out, you know. And I'm not saying that guys my age, like all of us, experience what I experienced. That's definitely not the case. As a matter of fact, um, my three closest um, homies, brothers, if you will, Kenyatta, Cornell, and Dino, they all had their dads, and their moms. So I'm not saying that, not like all of us suffer through that, but like, like those of us who did, that's what it is, what it is. That's what it was, But today, it's like it doesn't have to be that. We don't have to fall in line with, the stuff that we grew up with, that we came up with. We don't have to, we write our own narrative. This is our story now. This is our life. You know, I challenge us all to take our life back. You know, how do we let go of that trauma in the past? How do we, mend all of that? We do better today. We we're accountable. We hold ourselves accountable today. we're responsible today. We're more attentive to our children, our families today, our surroundings. You know, it's not. It's. I love me first because I know that if I give myself that kind of love, I'm able to disperse multitudes of love, ample amounts of love to so many people in this world. And I just I don't know. That's how I challenge myself.
Yeah. I know that there's so much more dealing with your upbringing that I'm sure that you can share. But I know for so many men and women, it can be difficult to build a family and to build healthy, vulnerable love relationships, whether that be boyfriend, girlfriend, marriage. How did you see your childhood trauma play out in your relationships? And how has that made you either better or worse at relationships? I'll let you kind of rate yourself. Because we all know it's a 10 out of 10 on this side.
Well, why don't you tell everybody then what it's like?
No, mine will be biased.
Because and to segue off of us, with you, like right now, or people will see us laughing and joking right now, but they don't know the backdrop behind that. They don't know what you and I go through. You know what I'm saying? To get here, it's not always, the laughter and the intimate teasing and the things like that. Sometimes it's the uncomfortable silence. It's the, well, what are we going to do now? Well, here we are. Back in, the relationships that I had, my past, just, I don't know, just getting to points where I just wanted to do what I wanted to do, I guess. Um, I don't want to play the victim card, as far as like my past, childhood, things that I see, things that I saw. I just chalk my upbringing, me living my life, as a young adult to now. I chalk that up to me to experience, to just exploration. Um, I'm not happy with a lot of the things that I did, but I don't regret anything that I did. Everything that I did was a learning lesson. I'm here today still. I'm good. I'm in a good place.
So earlier you said something so beautiful about um, waking up every day and choosing to be different, choosing to break the curse. And when you look back at the 12-year-old boy with a gun in his hand, um, protecting his family and seeing so much violence and um, being in an environment that could have pushed you in a completely different direction. So, what does that look like for you waking up every day breaking the curse? Make that more practical. What does that look like for you?
It looks like me just setting a new precedence in this family, this this foundation, in that teaching my children they don't have to be that way. You don't have to stand for anything. You don't have to stand for whatever you don't want to stand for in a relationship with anybody. Always make sure it's the right thing for you first. Um, what my what I feel like what my past, all that stuff that I spoke of earlier, I feel like what that's done for me now is it became teaching tools for my kids. I'm always going to revert back to my children because everything I do now today is, you know, for my kids, for my legacy, you know, for their children and so on and so forth. I want to be one of those guys. You know, a lot of the guys, a lot of the men my age back then, they weren't talking like this. They weren't putting their best foot forward. They're just trying to find their next hit. Me, I'm trying to find my next million. So it's like, what are your we had to rearrange. I had to rearrange my core values. Like, I know that this is not the way I want to live. Like, not nothing against the system as far as like assistance, but I'm not. You know what I'm saying? I'm not on welfare. I'm not on food stamps. I'm not on those systems for a reason. I'm not taking that assistance for a reason. I grew up on that. That helped me when I was a kid. You know what I'm saying? It helped us when I was a kid. I'm not a kid anymore. I'm a man. So now, it's about my life choices. So I guess a lot of that experience in my past, helped me today in the sense of that's not the way I want to live. Because every day that I wake up, I'm learning how to treat women or a woman. Um, coming up, I wasn't the best at that. Intimacy, things like that. I'm fun to be around, things like that. I guess life, you know, would start to happen or kick in, and I would run or just say enough is enough. Why are we beating a dead horse, so to speak? So maybe my running didn't really look like running. You know, maybe it was doing us both a favor at that time. Uh, but to say all that and to be where I am now, I'm learning every day. I'm still learning. I still haven't figured it out. I haven't mastered, you know, relationships or how to perfectly treat, a woman. Uh, but I'm learning. I'm getting really good every day. So
You are.
thank you.
You're welcome. What do you think? And this definitely is my last question, but
Sure.
what is helping you? Like, what's the thing that's really helping you?
My surroundings. First off, me to my core of who I am. If you want to sleep good at night, always stay true to your core. Are. You're not hurting anybody. You're not meaning any harm. You're not, you don't mean the malice. You're not doing anything with any malice. I should say. You're just being you. You should be able to go home at night and sleep well because we're all human and we're all here just fucking it up. You know, that's what it's all here for. Even God said He made the mistake in making us, or she. I think it's a she. Even she said she made the mistake. She repented. She hated the fact that she even had even made us. That sounds like a mistake to me. So if a creator can make the mistake, and we born to make mistakes, it's what we do in the end. It's what we do with that in our process. I should say, not our end, but in our process, in our journey. What are we doing with these tools? So and then my people, like my surroundings. I surround myself with like-minded people, ambitious people. People who have, who on their journeys, it's it's themselves first. You know, because they're able to do the same thing I'm doing. They're able to spread love. You know, when you have this person, this person, this person, this person, and we're just bursting. You have all these, and then it just bigger and gets bigger and bigger. It just makes for just this immaculate network of beings who we help each other to get there, and wherever there is, you know, I'm sure it's plentiful and a lot of love there and a lot of forgiveness and grace, peace, and definitely a lot of never forgetting who you are.
Yeah. We're gonna close out, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
just gonna ask you to do one more thing,
What's that?
and I want you to think about somebody who might be watching this or listening to this who specifically has a childhood wound attached to the void of not having a father, or even just really traumatic things from their childhood that they feel is blocking them, or that they are incurable because of this trauma.
Yeah.
One piece of encouragement or like word of advice, I guess it's the opposite. What word of encouragement or piece of advice
Yeah.
can you give them?
Wow. I tried to make it through this whole interview and it's starting. I'm so emotional. No, because I'm listening to your questions. Your questions are hitting home. Don't give up, man. You're still here for a reason. Um, keep fighting. You know, people are gonna try to. People are out to make you look bad. People are out to slander your name. Talk shit about you. You just believe in your heart who you are. Know who you are to your core. And you stick with that no matter what. If you have children, as long as they know who you are, as long as you're doing the right thing by them, screw what everybody else says. It can be tough because a lot of us care about what other people think. Yeah, man, just be you. Just keep fighting. Don't quit. To quit is the end, and there is no end if it's all eternal. So never quit.
Yeah. Thank you so much, baby.
Got me crying on your show.
Hell yeah, that's what it's all about. My love, my best friend, man of my dreams. I am so thankful for every triumph and every trauma that brought you to my life, because all of it is a beautiful concoction that equals you. And though I hurt when you hurt, and I'm in pain when I hear that you are in pain, all I know is that that pain, that trauma, that environment built and was building, even at 12 years old, this incredible man that I get to share life with. And I hope that all of us see that in our partners and in our relationships, that I don't love Casey Martin despite, you know, despite his trauma. I don't love him despite his 6 children and failed marriages and messed up relationships, just as much as he doesn't love me in spite of my years and years of being in religion and all of that all that baggage that comes with me, and my lack of trust and all the things that you already know. We don't need to speak of those things.
Yeah.
This is about you.
Yeah.
um but
I
I
will
am,
say I will say this though. I forgot to mention something. I will say this.
yeah.
Big, massive, huge shout out. He's no longer with us, but to my pastor, Bishop Bruce Edward Moore. He taught me so much about like the value of family and children and relationship. And he just, wow, he that was dad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was dad. Because even he had, made mistakes along his journey, but man, he was, before he left, he was a stud,
Yeah.
took care of the kids and his wife as best he could. He did the best he could with what he had. And I learned a lot from that man. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention him, you know,
Yeah.
um, in this interview. So, Bishop, I love you, man, and thank you for continuing to look after me.
I love that. In honor of your bishop, we will close this out. And I never met him, but I too offer that gratitude in helping making you the man that you are today. And thank you to those of you who are watching, and for the love and the comments that we've already received on previous interviews. Please continue to do so. If you have your own experiences, share, comment, but not even from the standpoint of sharing on social media. Like, share with people that you love. Don't be afraid of your trauma, but also don't be afraid to share it, because I know that in our relationship, like, the level of sharing that we've done has been uncomfortable. It's been scary, but it has done nothing but serve to bring us closer together, because it brings us closer to ourselves. Our darkness is our light. Our light is our darkness. It's like the beautiful duality of life. And it all compiles and comes together to make this beautiful life experience if you choose to see it that way. And today, just like you said, we're choosing to break the curse and see our trauma as our superpower.
Absolutely.
Because when you free your story, you free your life.
Yes.
So thank you, my love. Saying thank you, Casey. Your girls
My
love
baby! My Selena! All right.
Okay,
Thank you for having me, baby.
baby.